going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC reality checking. You don't see my pretty sexy face, so you know I'm not alone. Jake, we're at it again, buddy.
We are indeed, and this time it's a continuation of where we left off the other day, leaving everybody in suspense for the real creme de la creme that is NXT.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, you want to talk about continuation, like, how full is this weekend?
It is a massive weekend all around. I am very, very not only intrigued in a lot of ways, but overly excited, honestly. Yeah. I haven't felt this way in quite some time. I mean, mainly it's the CM Punk debut upcoming that has me buzzing because I just want to know how they're going to go about it.
Yeah, just in general, like, I know a lot of people are talking about, a lot of people are saying the CM Punk thing specifically, but I almost feel like, regardless of, like, mentioning one specific thing, it really does feel like there's a genuine shift in the air. Like, whether you're talking about WWE
shift.
Oh my God. WWE, NXT, Impact, AEW, like, even, like I say, WWE, not always the greatest thing to talk about. NXT is kind of in a really bad spot right now, but, like, I'll say all four companies that I pay attention to anyway.
Yeah, but no, there is this current shift going on. You're absolutely right.
Everybody feels like they're doing something.
Yeah, there is absolutely this shift happening, though, because everything is currently, as you said, adjusting. And honestly, that's the truth. I mean, when you think about it, you know, who's going to go ahead and now tune into AEW that hasn't watched wrestling in years?
Yeah.
How many Punk fans are going to come back? How many people stopped watching when Punk left and said, well, I don't want to do this anymore until now that he's back? Yep. I guarantee people will return to watching.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, though, like, you can't deny it. Like, Punk is the big, like, more than any pay-per-view that's happening this weekend, Punk is the big talking point this weekend, right? But we are getting into this strange place of that, remember when he left, and there was this fake feeling of, like, oh my God, Punk's gone, what's going to happen to wrestling?
Yes.
And it was like, yeah, I'm a fan of Punk too, the guy is great, the guy shook a lot of trees, for lack of a better term, right? But the wrestling world...
But he wasn't the be-all, end-all.
Yeah, the wrestling world did exist before him and did exist after... And it feels like sort of the same way now. It's like, oh, now Punk's back, now wrestling's good. I'm like, well, even me, who's critical of AEW, is going to say AEW is already on a pretty good roll.
Yes, so they've been damn entertaining many times over without Punk. He's not a necessity, but he is a great ally in addition. I'll give them that.
Like, the thing is,
I don't know how much of a draw he's going to be, but I'm certainly sure he will be a draw. What level he's a draw?
See, that's the thing. I don't think they're going to get, like, the people that are already watching aren't going to get the sudden jump in numbers that I think is going to happen. I don't think it's going to necessarily draw in a whole bunch of new people. What it's going to do is it's going to double or triple the enjoyment of the people that they already have. And that's just as important, because you can't, like WWE, my big criticism of them is, like, sometimes you got to stop reaching for the fans you don't have, like all the celebrity stuff, all the music stuff, all the whatever. Stop reaching for the fans.
Trying to get Megan Thee Stallion for SummerSlam.
Yeah. Stop trying to get the fans you don't have and show something for the fans that you do have, or they're gonna leave. Like, that's a thing too, right? But, no, if you do a quick rundown, right, like, or a rundown what I'm going to be talking about on this channel anyway, I've already done the preview for Emergence. People listening to this right now would have probably already seen that. We already did the preview for SummerSlam. People listening to this have probably already seen that. You're listening to this on Friday, guys. Saturday morning, you better believe I'm going to have a review up for Rampage. Sunday, I'm going to have an episode of NXT Rewind for you leading up into NXT 36, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. I also may come up at some point and do something about the Summer Heat show that I'm going to, because we got Josh Alexander versus Cody Deaner for the Destiny Championship. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list.
Why not, mention it,
And there was the tease. There was the tease of Jay White showing up in Chicago as well, so we'll see.
I don't know if that is going to happen, but
it's fun. I mean,
it's at least getting people talking.
I mean, they're shaking dicks with Impact, and Jay White's been on Impact for the past few weeks. So,
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's not impossible. It's just I don't know if they're going to go there right away. I wish he didn't appear on Impact, so it would have almost been like a even bigger deal. Had he not been on any United States.
You know what? I don't mind it because
I don't hate it. It's just
people heard me say it a lot in my Emergence preview. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that Impact has this like great huge like impact, pardon the pun, but like they are doing good shit. So there is like that soft spot for me that like I hope they get a bigger crowd. I hope they get in a bigger building. I hope they can bring in.
I would like to see them, pick up. I like to see everybody succeed better, but I mean, WWE is apparently open to being sold at this point in time, and doors always open kind of thing. So we'll see what we're gonna get going forward. But
and I mean, better Sasha Banks is going to be on Rampage this week, taking on Jade Cargill. I like one of them. I like one of them, and it's not Jade Cargill,
aka Kiera Hogan.
Yo, I wouldn't mind. I'm just saying. I wouldn't mind. Now, I don't know whether that means that she's actually, like, moved to AEW, or is she just somebody that they're sending from Impact?
I think it's just a temporary...
They need to have some crossover between Impact and AEW that's not just the super elite stuff. Like, my God. Give me champion versus champion, Deonna Purrazzo versus Britt Baker.
We need some heels. We need there's a whole. We definitely need some changes. Some.
I mean, I may be a little bit biased, but let's do champion versus champion, Josh Alexander versus Rusev.
Yeah.
Let's ways
to pull things off. No doubt about it.
In the words of Big E, let's start slapping some meat. Anyways, we got time constraints tonight, so
we didn't get to mention it in the SummerSlam preview, but I do want to mention it very, very quickly.
Sure.
Is that Big E doesn't have the Money in the Bank briefcase, so people are like, "Oh, Baron Corbin can cash in," and I know WWE kind of says "F you" to the fans a lot as far as precedence goes, but they set up a lot with The Miz last year getting the briefcase back because he went ahead and basically at that point in time.
Can you imagine at the end of the show, Roman Reigns beats John Cena in the main event, and then gets cashed in on by Baron Corbin?
Well, that was the thing.
Roman Reigns eats the end of days, and Baron Corbin walks out as champion.
John Cena wins, so he gets the 17 time, and then he loses the title right away because of.
Actually, yeah, because didn't Cena fuck him out of his cash in?
Yes.
No, but, like, look at how much respect people have for the Roman Reigns character right now. The amount of heat, even though it's, like, heel-on-heel violence, can you imagine,
I don't think WWE would do it, but I see what you're saying. Oh, no, it would be a
dirty-ass, unshaved Baron Corbin with his messy shirt walking out with the Universal Championship.
Exactly.
You know what's as disappointing as that, though? Takeover.
Yeah.
Takeover
is going to be great. And possession's 9/10 the law, we know. But they literally had The Miz get the briefcase back because of the BS that happened there. Because it was Morrison that cashed it in.
Yeah.
The
Now they did something. They did something to transition the what do you call it? The possession of the briefcase to Miz. It was stupid. It was a court skit. But they did something. He didn't just walk away with it. Yeah,
it had to happen. Exactly. That's my point.
The Corbin thing's not going to happen. He's like, I could see it being something as simple as like we get a sketch at SummerSlam where Big E has to buy the briefcase back so that Corbin can buy himself a new shirt. And you know what?
It's not a bad idea, actually.
It's not. It's relatively like there's nothing to that really. Like if you choose to not care about that, obviously choose to not care about that. But like that's harmless.
Exactly. That's just holding any. People could do that with anything. You can hold it for ransom.
Exactly.
Not just a briefcase.
I mean, Ricochet could come along and steal your hat. Anyways,
that's how this whole thing started. So yeah, I mean, right away, the only thing I really liked from NXT this week, as I was telling you, was the opening with Ilya being there. I liked the way that they showcased him yet again. It was a hell of a match, and the
accidental busting open never hurts.
No, certainly not. And,
it does make you worry, like, what's the status of Kushida? Because we know the plan at one point was to put Roderick Strong in the Cruiserweight Championship position. So it's sort of like, my enjoyment of it is kind of overshadowed by, like, hey, I hope this guy's okay. But no, the match was great.
Either, which I haven't as well. The two matches we're getting next week, nothing to do with Kushida as far as I've heard, so...
Right. Well, the thing is, the Breakout Final, there's no reason they couldn't have done the Breakout Final as part of the pay-per-view, because, like, you know what? It's still, like, small compared to what we knew a TakeOver to be, so I don't want to say the show's inconsequential because there is some good stuff to get out of it, but it's a small enough show that you could have done this like new guys tournament on the show, and it is the two people that I think we predicted to be in the finals, Carmelo Hayes and Odyssey Jones, and might be sort of the lame answer. I like Carmelo Hayes, but I'm okay with either of these guys.
I like Josh Briggs, but I knew he wasn't going to go far, sadly.
I
keep hearing they have other plans with him, but God knows.
Well, it looks like he might be a hired gun for LA Knight, which might be something.
Which I think could be a good way for him to start as a heel, and then...
Could be like an MJF Wardlow situation.
Yeah, it gets him an introduction, and then he can always turn on him, become a face, and that could be fun with the crowd.
I hate to say it because it sounds like I'm just being cliche, but like look at Odyssey Jones, and imagine if Keith Lee was still in NXT.
Oh, I know.
But I mean, Carmelo Hayes obviously, like before the breakout tournament was even announced, his first two matches were a Cruiserweight title open challenge and a match against Adam Cole. So
exactly.
Occasionally, NXT gets it right, and you can see where they're calling their shot on a guy. And I think they've already called their shot on this guy. I think he's probably going to win and probably go after. I doubt that the winner of the breakout tournament is ever going to go for the world championship because that's a bit much. But
it kind of,
if they put the title,
like something important's coming.
If they put the title on, like the North American title on Swerve, and Carmelo Hayes is sort of like this cocky but still sort of babyface guy, Carmelo Hayes versus Swerve is a tasty match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Swerve is great in general, no matter who you put him up against. So that could be something really interesting.
Sort of leads us into the other match that we're getting next week, which I thought we were going to get the singles match announced last minute for this card, and we're not. I
did as well. We're
getting the trios match, so all the AEW fans can rip their cocks off. It's fine. But I do like normally, 6-man tag, trios, whatever you want to call it, pile of people matches is just sort of whatever. There is a charisma between these six guys.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that was what, even though it was chopped up and edited to hell, their backstage brawl, their parking lot brawl on NXT, I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was one of the better things on the show.
Oh, it wasn't bad. No, it certainly wasn't bad.
Yeah. I mean, best thing on the show, along with the Ilya Dragunov match, I mean, you didn't really have much to choose from.
That's what I'm saying. There wasn't like anything amazing.
Guys, if you're listening, my bias is still towards NXT. I don't want to be saying this shit.
Oh, neither do I. I want to enjoy NXT more than I have been, but I just haven't been. I don't really even know specifically why it's not clicking. I mean, I know little things here and there, but all in all, I'm kind of baffled as to why it's not working the way it usually does.
I think there is an element of, because we do the content, and because like I'm not part of the newsreel per se. Like I'm not. I don't do as much like what you and Joe do, and what what culture and good mic work and all that do. But because we know so much of what we think of the show is affected by what happens behind the scenes. Like if I didn't watch Raw, I'd be excited about Cross and Joe, and we're gonna get to that when we get to it, right?
I wouldn't be, because I saw him lose on TV, and that would set me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I didn't watch Raw, like if I only watched the kayfabe of NXT.
If you only watched NXT, yeah, I got you. I misunderstood.
Okay, like if COVID wasn't a thing, then we wouldn't be really, really tense every time somebody doesn't show up and they don't say why.
Yeah.
If we weren't paying attention backstage, we wouldn't know that we had just lost 3 more people. We wouldn't know that, Roderick Strong and his group just lost this guy that was supposed to be his backup.
Even without the backstage politics, I think a lot of it is just the lack of the overall characters right now. Everyone feels same old. No one's like an overall face or heel. They're just kind of there. Like someone is a heel or they are a baby face, but they're not like an exemplary version of either. They're all kind of tweeners, which makes everyone a little less interesting.
You know what's awesome, though?
Everybody has a lot of motivation like they used to.
You know what is awesome, though? Is because of that, because what you said is absolutely right. Out of everybody on the show week to week to week, that's why MSK sticks out.
Yeah, but they used to have that, I feel, with the entire roster, as where every tag team and unit and combination was unique. Now I feel like things are kind of same-ish, like the style of wrestling feels
The
very
thing about it as well, though,
false finishes.
and I think this goes back to like the overpush John Cena mentality, is it's hard to boo the heels and cheer the faces when the heels are more interesting. Like,
Yeah.
if you like the title match is a mess, but you've said it before. You've told me about being there live for shows. Like,
Yeah.
at times Adam Cole is the biggest heel in the brand, but who's booing Adam Cole?
Exactly.
So it's not that they don't have, like, sometimes it's not that they don't have heels and faces. It's just that the heels are also awesome.
Well, no, but I'm saying that's so few and far between. He's
Yeah.
kind of it at this point in time. As far as like really standout heels, Cross was decent, but they kind of neutered him a little bit, unfortunately. Not entirely, but it still did ruin some of that.
Cole's another great example, though, because of the backstage politics, or not politics per se, but the backstage news and whatever.
Issues, yeah.
Like, if we didn't know that he was operating on a handshake contract and he might be leaving WWE, or he might be going to the main roster, or he might be, going to be a cauliflower farmer in Texas, or
a Twitch streamer,
or something like that. Yeah, like, if now we might be bored because it's a match we've seen before, but we wouldn't have all these other things like hampering down the match, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I get exactly what you're going for.
So let's start off with the match. Sorry.
A lot of it for me. No. Last thing here before we get to predictions. A lot of it for me, honestly, is like I said, they don't have that refresh going on. When we had all these great feuds, and then be like, oh my God, we just got Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. Now Finn Balor goes up, and then Samoa Joe goes up after Kevin Owens just went up. Like, and they were doing stuff with these people on the main roster as well. Granted. So that was also better for the people in NXT. They didn't really get completely ruined most of the times. They were
I'll tell you where you get a cycle there, though. Is because we get all these characters that we like in NXT that for the most part were handled properly. And then this idea kind of grew that NXT was the quote-unquote good show.
Yeah,
Raw sucked, SmackDown sucked, NXT was the good show. So that slowly translates into, well, we don't want our favorites to go be ruined on the main roster. So,
because they started to ruin them on the main roster, so it became justified as well.
Right. So, but like, we always say that WWE doesn't listen to what we say. They do listen.
No,
they
stopped refresh. They stopped. Yeah. They don't care. They do listen.
They do listen.
They
just don't care.
Refreshing the
but
roster.
if they hear us say, well, we don't want anybody going up, and then you've got wrestlers saying like, hey, look at this, I really don't want to go up. Like, you get a stopgap at the top of the NXT brand where it should be the filter to something better. Now, that would mean
such a standstill right now that they literally they don't have ideas, and they're not able to work in unison, and therefore they're not pulling people up like they were before. NXT before had people coming up in regular intervals, and it worked out to keep the top guy always someone different, top girl, whoever, top person. There was always somebody different, and it was forever interchanging.
But now here's the thing, though. Part of the popularity
people forever.
Before AEW came around and people were acknowledging how great NXT was, NXT, a lot of its popularity, and this is not necessarily a great thing, is they were the good show in a bad company. That's what made them stick out, right? Now, also, we don't want anybody to move up because Raw and SmackDown are going to ruin them. Now, if you make Raw and SmackDown decent so that we are comfortable that those characters are going to come along okay, means that Raw and SmackDown are now doing what we want them to do too. So if Raw and SmackDown aren't so bad anymore, NXT loses its identity as, hey, we are, in quotes, the good show. So it does kind of go. I'm not defending WWE. Please don't get me wrong, but it does. The logic does go a bit circular. And you know what else goes circular? A toilet. And you know what should go in a toilet? The Grimes versus Knight feud. I think I said this before the last pay-per-view. This is piss, man.
Yeah, it's just gotten worse for me. And some people are like, oh, this is great now that the stipulation, because if Grimes loses, DiBiase has to become Knight's butler. So everyone's thinking that Grimes isn't going to lose, but I think they are going to have Grimes lose, just because I think DiBiase as a butler is going to be funny, and I don't think they're done with this yet. I think they want to keep going. I don't care either, but for prediction's sake, I really think that's their intention here.
To go back on everything I just said, I think Grimes could flourish on the main roster.
Yeah,
Like as much as he's not for me, he's more superstar than wrestler. Like he could be like a Baron Corbin, Alexa Bliss, Braun Strowman,
and that's kind of the thing.
Yeah. But I pitched you my idea earlier that he could go up to SmackDown and buy Baron Corbin's contract because Baron Corbin's broke, and they become the tag team of the sad poor guy and the sad rich guy. Oh man, I don't care, man. What I want to happen, I want Grimes to win. I want him to get the $1 million title back. I want him to present that title back to Ted DiBiase respectfully. Ted DiBiase goes off into the sunset with the belt. We take that off of NXT.
Nobody's ready for this yet.
Or just I never should have brought this back. Like this is a relic from a foregone era, whatever. He goes off into the distance. Put Grimes on SmackDown. Let LA Knight try to do something else on NXT. Maybe with Josh Briggs.
It for them having something to fight over, and I know you have as well. But I don't want it to be a mainstay defendable title.
That's the thing. When this first started, I was okay with it in the early going because I hate to make this comparison, but the friggin' Braun Strowman green strap Saudi Arabia title that he won after the Battle Royal, right? That was presented to him. No, but it was presented to him specifically on that night and never mentioned again.
Exactly.
They could have given this belt. They could have given this belt to Grimes. It would have been a nice feel-good nostalgia thing. Maybe he hangs it up in the back of his locker room, so if he's cutting a promo, you can kind of see it there. But it's not at the forefront of the story. I would have been cool. Like, let it become part of his furniture. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
but I mean,
like when he talks in the back, it's in his locker room, or.
But like I say, put Grimes on SmackDown. I think that's.
Well, I can't stand the FTW title because originally it was just a decent prop, but now it's become ridiculous.
Oh. I really want to like Brian Cage. I really do, but like.
They don't make it easy.
No, they don't. And as I say,
who do you think's going to win this match before I get us off on too much of a tangent? I think Cameron Grimes is going to lose, believe it or not. I know that sounds crazy, but I think because
if he loses, the story has to continue.
That's exactly it. And I think
because the story now becomes he's out as the Butler, or Ted DiBiase's in as the Butler. He's defending this legend.
Is he out as the Butler, or are they both Butlers?
No, because he said when they cut the promo setting the match, he said, "When I beat you again, you won't be my Butler. He will."
Okay, that's what I thought, but
I think the undertone of it is supposed to be that LA Knight likes the fact that he won and likes the fact that he got to embarrass Grimes, but Grimes was having fun and actually annoying him, so like he wanted to fire him without saying, "Okay, you're free."
Yeah, I get that. So,
but I want it to be Grimes because I think if it's Grimes, then the story will be over. As I say, put Grimes on SmackDown, get rid of Ted DiBiase. If LA Knight's going to go around with Josh Briggs as a heater, I think that's a half-decent idea.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's better than what we've got, though, currently happening, so I'm all for it, honestly.
Let's go for something I'm a lot more interested in and could sink my teeth into a lot more. Walter Dragunov, too.
Oh,
these guys are going to kill each other.
This. As I said, the most violent match I've ever seen without using weapons.
I've actually stolen that quote from you quite a bit.
It's so true.
It is, and it's so bizarre that the weird thing about this match is that it's going to have a crowd this time.
I know.
Like imagine saying that 5 years ago.
Rematch having a crowd because the first one didn't. It's like where can they go from there?
I think, but like, it makes me wonder if it's going to be like held back a little bit though, because NXT UK there was nobody in the live audience, and they know that their viewership is pretty low. So not very many eyes are on them, so they could basically go in there and kill each other. I think with more eyes on the WWE Network on a pay-per-view stage with a crowd in the audience, I think they might. I don't think the match is going to be bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think
people know what they got from the first one, and that's what they're expecting, and NXT is going to deliver on that. And they've given us violent matches before with War Games and other
that's
things.
True.
Like Ilk, so
that's true.
I think we will get this same type of match. I think we're going to see a lot of the first one, but it's going to be much more intense now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll have the same intensity, but it's going to be intense on a different level because of them.
I don't know. I think there's like going back to your quote though about it being the most violent match you've seen without weapons. I think there's a big difference between it's a cage match. You expect somebody to get busted open because there's a cage, because there's weapons, because of what. I think there's a visceral difference between that and a chair shot that splits somebody open. Okay, cool. No, I just hit you with my hands until you bled. Like there's a huge difference there.
Open.
Yeah.
I beat you within an inch of your life, literally.
I Brock Lesnar Randy Orton's forehead. Here's the thing, right? I don't know, and I remember Dragunov briefly from before, like, the world went away, like, in the before time in the long, long ago. I like him.
Long ago.
He's a, you know, very, very erratic, fun guy, easy guy to watch his entrance. Like, how he's, like, 10 times extra with his entrance music and everything.
He just has a ton of personality, charisma, all of it. It's great.
There's a part of me that wants him to pull it out, you know? Like,
me too. I would love to see him topple Walter, honestly, because Walter's had the title for so long at this point.
Yeah.
And
it also makes me wish they were in front of a bigger audience.
How many days at this point in time has Walter been champion?
It's like 600 and something, I think.
Yeah, it's up there. So,
like, you remember when the UK brand was first getting up off the ground, and they put Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne on the regular NXT Takeover, and it won. The guys from NXT UK won the NXT Match of the Year, and people got into it. Like, they could absorb that it was like a different style of wrestling, but like it doesn't take that much because the UK or the NXT UK style is just more painful looking.
yeah,
It's like you say. I'm gonna have to pull a recent example that's not really gonna work, but like imagine Jericho Gage, but without weapons.
Yeah,
like
that wouldn't have worked because of the lack of weapon. You know.
No, but I'm saying like what they're doing is Jericho Gage without weapons.
Yeah, but with weapons. Yeah, no,
yeah,
no
their
doubt.
hands are the weapons.
Like, I don't know if they could have pulled off something as violent as they did without the weapons.
That's true. That's true.
As where these two have.
I mean, what's his name from FTR managed to rip his entire arm open after a regular match.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I could do without that, man.
And you know, Wheeler or Dax?
It's Dax. Yeah.
One of the two. Either way.
We had the conversation a long time ago about how I feel about them using like real life X-rays and stuff like that to add to the story, whatever. How I think it's a bit uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
I did not need the slow motion of that ring pin, whatever it was, pulling his skin out.
Yeah, that was certainly quite unsightly. You know, that was a bit hard to handle.
I will say, like, it's hard for me to side with WWE on much, but they would have done their way to film around that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't think they would have shown that because that was on them, basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think that's like.
Bad. It was their ring not being covered that led
you want to say, and I know the popular opinion is, hey, you know, include anything from your personal life as long as the wrestler is okay with it. But there's another level of I didn't need to see that.
Exactly.
And I don't know how we got
off. I get it. See, I don't mind.
I also don't need to see pictures of Big Show's bare ass.
That and him having all those surgeries.
All the hips and yeah, that's just because it's where you go from two guys yelling at each other and being super intense to feeling just really sad about one of them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Do you want that? Do you want to deal with that? And is that what they're really trying to go for?
Anyways, my bringing it back to the match, though, my one overlaying thought about all this is there's been rumors that they're going to fold NXT UK into regular NXT. And Walters
said they were going to have people let go from NXT UK. We've been hearing that for quite some time now.
I mean, I don't think they necessarily want to let him go. He's a big superstar and a big attraction. But Walter has said he doesn't want to be in the US full time, right? Like he came and he did he came and he did the thing with Ciampa, and then he went back.
Yeah, and then he got pinned at Survivor Series, you know.
Yeah, well, that was stupid, but
that was another, you know. Freaking! How many times have we seen that wonderful booking come to light? But
I mean, just I don't know. There's like such a weird, erratic energy from Ilya Dragunov.
Absolutely.
I know it's my default. I know it's my default AEW answer, but if you were gonna do crossover, Ilya Dragunov versus Darby Allin.
That's the thing. Darby Allin's like one of the main real stars they have, no doubt. So.
And they do recognize that. I'll give them credit for that.
Oh, they give him his due, no doubt.
I mean, while they're drowning him in amongst the former WWE guys, but no.
Pussy. Oh my god, get the ass kicked.
Oh my god. When does Mark Henry? When does Mark Henry have a match? I'm just asking. When does Mark Henry get up from the commentary?
After Big Show.
Oh my lord. Okay, let me tell you. I'm really looking forward to All Out. Sorry, we're diverting to AEW. I'm really looking forward to All Out, right? I could not give a rat lizard fuck about anything involving QT Marshall.
Or the Big Show. And see, QT Marshall, I do enjoy. He is a fun heel.
I'm more on the other side of it. Like there's a little bit of me that's curious. Like Big Show without the WWE handcuffs on, I want to see what that looks like. QT Marshall can fuck off.
I want to see how Big Show can operate after all these surgeries.
Well, no, that's true too. But like, there is the element, and we see it with Moxley. Moxley's the main example, but like, take off the WWE handcuffs and everybody's turned up to 11. We see it briefly now with Aleister Black. Took a while to get there, but Miro now is killing everybody. Big Show could be a killer if they booked him, if they use him sparingly. But goddamn, I don't care about QT Marshall, like, at all. I'm venturing into what...
Because where have you seen him, or what has he been introduced to you as? You know, that's the problem.
Cody's buddy.
Exactly.
He's introduced as the guy that's Cody's buddy. I go back to the old example all the time. Kane was an awesome character in WWE, but he never got over the fact that he was Undertaker's little brother.
Exactly.
You couldn't, like, they mirrored his image after him a little bit. All the finishers were the same. The mannerisms. I mean, later on he did comedy stuff with Daniel Bryan that, like, made me just not give a shit. But, like, I couldn't
totally get what you're saying.
I couldn't care. Like, he is, at whatever age he is, he's the little kid that wants to hang out with his big brother and their friends. Like, that's what I think every time I see him in a match. Every time I see him in a promo.
No, you're right.
I just, And you know what sucks? In real life, the guy's probably a great guy. Because before they turned him heel, like they did the little biography piece on him, and whatever, and Cody and everybody had high things to say about what he does backstage and all that sort of thing. So here's a guy that probably wouldn't have done what he's doing now anywhere else, and he's gotten to do it now. I'm not a cold bastard. I'm happy for him in that regard. It doesn't mean I have to care.
Exactly.
It's like John Cena at the height of the John Cena push, right? Oh, he's done all these Make-A-Wishes. He does all this charity. He does all this outreach. Yes, he's a great guy. I would probably, if you gave me the opportunity, I would jump at the opportunity to sit at a bar and have just have a couple drinks with John Cena, whether I get to pick his brain or not. Just shoot the shit about anything. I wouldn't miss that chance for the world. Doesn't mean I want to see him on my TV. And at a very smaller level, QT Marshall is there right now, and I'm just like, God damn. And the problem with that is, if I don't care about you, I don't care about the other underlings that are coming to back you up. I just don't. Anyways, we're sort of tiptoeing on what I'm going to have to record with Guapo eventually when All Out comes around, because this show it encourages me to talk about other things. Kai versus Gonzalez, though. This will be good. Dakota Kai.
It's going to be an excellent match. I don't see how this isn't going to be an excellent match. But, see, this is one of the times where, as you were explaining before, where backstage stuff kind of gets in the way.
You know,
seeing that Dakota Kai has been on main event and they want her on the main roster, it makes me wonder,
as a babyface.
Yeah, what are they going to do, you know, with her in NXT? Probably not much more. So do they send her to the main roster? Probably after here.
I don't get how she's the one going up.
Either.
Gonzalez has had a good run. Like,
yeah,
you could put Gonzalez up on the... I wouldn't mind, and I'm not saying...
Does Dakota Kai not get the women's title? Just like Candice LeRae, now we'll never probably see it because...
Just like Shotzi, just like Alexa Bliss, just like Nikki Cross, just like all these people, right? But, like, think of, like, there's... If I want to stand up for the main roster, which I don't really want to do, look how much you could do with Gonzalez. Put Gonzalez up against Flair. Like, you could help hide whatever Gonzalez is missing with that. You could have another round of Gonzalez versus Ripley. Gonzalez could be the first big, like, speed bump for a returning Becky Lynch. You could have Gonzalez versus Baszler and show what badasses both of them are. There's not as much for Dakota Kai to do. And as you say, Dakota Kai hasn't had a chance to be the champion yet. And, I'm sorry, all due respect to Gonzalez, Dakota Kai is the much more interesting character.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're going to strangle that out of her on the main roster.
Kicks was, Dakota Kai.
And, I mean, the other thing is, even if Dakota Kai does win, they've shown with Karrion Kross that doesn't matter anymore. They'll send her to the main roster as a babyface with the NXT Championship that she won as a heel, and then she'll come back on NXT as a heel talking shit about Raquel Gonzalez. Oh, my God.
You have to laugh, no, at this point? Like, because if not, you're going to go insane.
I'm going to cry.
Exactly. I mean,
There's
I don't know
okay.
what they're thinking
Here
half
it
the
is,
time.
guys. You guys know where my biases have been for anybody listening, for anybody that thinks I'm totally just using this pay-per-view as an excuse to rant. I kind of am, and Jake's along for the ride. You guys know that are listening out there where my biases lie. I'm reviewing Rampage this week. I'm not reviewing NXT this week. Probably for the second week in a row now. What does that tell you? I am still, even with my bias towards NXT, I would rather talk about Rampage this Friday. Or sorry, I should say today when this goes out.
I get your point. No, exactly.
I just, there's so much, like, it's beyond, like, I don't want people to go up to the main roster. It's now gotten to the point where they're intentionally not taking the ones that would work on the main roster. Cameron Grimes, Gonzalez. Not that he would stay because he wants to stay closer to home, but imagine Walter on the main roster if they didn't fuck him up.
I know. If they didn't mess, if they did it right by all these people, at least if they had the same pedigree or background that they have in NXT. Basically, if they came up the same.
Imagine the What Culture office if they got to say that Michael Hamflett was walking out there on Monday Night Raw every week. Had to get it. Big shout out to Michael Hamflett because he's not Michael Sidgwick. Anyways, sadness, utter inner sadness tells us that Gonzalez is winning this, and we move on. I'm going to go on, because we got the title match to talk about last. I'm going to go on to the match that I'm really looking forward to, but I know everybody else isn't, and I understand why not, but it hasn't run its course yet for me. I could still go another round. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, the undisputed finale.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
The booking feels so backwards.
I don't care, man.
I know. I don't have an interest in this because what are the stakes?
Yep.
And then this is also, again, I said not so much an issue before, but after the fact, I think about it, and then I'm like, well, where does anyone stand going forward? You know, and it's like, so it doesn't really matter what they do with them because NXT just doesn't feel like, they care about these two. Yep. They're going to rush them out there, and then what? Yep. Adam Cole's probably either leaving or going to the main roster. There's no NXT future for him, so it's silly for him to win here, but I have a hard time picturing him losing.
Yeah. It's one of those ones for me, and this is, why not yourself, obviously, because you clearly are still putting up with me, but people on socials, etc., like, will have a frustrating time talking to me because occasionally there will be a match like this where I will sit and listen to everybody's criticism about it and say, okay, you're right about that, you're right about that, you're right about that, you're right about that, but I'm still going to love it. This is a match that I'm going to watch in a bubble. Like, I'm not going to think about what's happening before it because what's come before it is pretty much nothing. What's coming after it is way beyond what I can predict at this point. But like just the combination of these two guys is I don't know. If Rampage ends on Friday night with CM Punk coming out and him getting cut off by Daniel Bryan, and both of them saying, we want a match right here, right now to end off Rampage. We're not going to tell you why, we just want to fight. Nobody would complain.
No one would complain.
No one would complain, right? And I'm not saying that this is on that level. Please don't mistake me, right? But, you put Cole and Kyle in the ring, and they're just good. They just work. They
absolutely are going to give us a great match. I just wish there was more of a compelling reason to want to root for either one of them at this point in time because we've already seen their traditional wrestling match. We've already seen their street fight. They damn near killed each other first with the street fight, so that's why it feels backwards. Had they never had that street fight, they just had the traditional match, I think I'd be more interested. Either way, if they didn't have one of the two matches, but especially the way that street fight ended. That felt so definitive.
And see, you know what, people say that, right? And I agreed with it at first. Like, why would you do the street fight first and then have like the quote unquote regular match? And for me, it kind of mirrored I'm going to take it back to AEW again, but the MJF 5 Labors of Jericho. Like, oh, why did we do Gage so early and then go back into these regular things, right? But there is if you want to look for it, I think there's a logic you can go with, right? Because initially, Cole and O'Reilly, they burst at the seams, the brothers are fighting or whatever, and they wanted to kill each other because that's what the aggression was, that's what the betrayal was and whatever, and they didn't care about winning, they didn't care about losing, they wanted to kill each other, they got that aggression out, and once they got that aggression out, when you sort of you suck it up and you get ready for that second round, okay, now I've beaten the shit out of you. I'm going to put the icing on the cake by proving I'm better than you. I think psychologically you can tell that story, right? Same as the MJF Jericho stuff was great. I'm sort of forgetting that the first match was the match with Spears because that just was what it was. And everybody was like, oh, why would you do the Gage match so early and then go into these regular matches? Because he has to do all these regular quote-unquote matches with carrying the damage of that Gage match. And I think that, like, the people that are... And it's not to insult anybody. Obviously, everybody's going to take in wrestling as they do, right? But to say automatically, well, you do the normal one first and then you do this, it depends how you tell the story and it depends how you receive the story. And I think the two of them absolutely killing each other and then coming back to then see who's actually legitimately better, I think there's a cool psychological story to tell there. And that might not be for everybody. That type of story might not be for everybody, but that's largely how I received it.
Yeah. I could see that. I mean, it doesn't have me as attention grabbing as it once was. I think that Adam Cole wins here, though.
I do too.
For some reason, it makes more sense for O'Reilly to win, honestly, but for some reason, I think they're going to give it to Adam Cole just because it's Adam Cole, and I don't see why they wouldn't want to put him over. Even if he's on his way out, no matter what, with all he's done, can't say he doesn't deserve it.
I will say, even if he is leaving, if you're WWE NXT and you know what you have on your hands at all, let him go out on a high note so that there is a chance that one day you guys can all come back to the table without hostility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying kiss his ass on the way out, but let him leave in a positive way. Now, the other thing I will say,
the guy and treat him like shit as you do with other legends and wonder why they don't want to come back at all in the future.
Don't have Bray Wyatt's last appearance be on a Firefly Funhouse segment. Yeah. I will say the other thing that kind of makes me a little bit biased towards this match is the last time we got the regular match street fight cage match was at TakeOver Toronto 2, and I was there. So, a little bit of bias on my part, I'm not going to lie.
That's fair, though.
That's
absolutely fair.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind Kyle winning, but I don't think it's happening. And
I don't think so either.
Basically, the main event that is just a little bit of leftover admin, which is Joe getting handed the title by Cross.
Pretty much.
I mean, don't
is there
have
any
anything
other way
to say.
To have this happen?
The only way that doesn't happen, and it doesn't make any sense at all, the only way you keep that title on Cross is if the people writing Raw are dumb enough to think that having that belt over his shoulder means he can step up to Bobby Lashley and like have the entirely fake idea of like a champion versus champion match.
No, see, they don't give two shits about the NXT title.
They did exactly once.
And the reason why they haven't been using Scarlett apparently is because she's not medically cleared. It's not said as to why, but there's an issue with her not being medically cleared.
Yeah, but they weren't even using her for his entrance when he debuted on Main Event, and those corresponding NXTs still had Scarlett. So,
yep. No, I'm just letting you know that's apparently part of the reason as to why.
Part of, no, for sure. Sorry, I just cut you off right there, but like,
no.
Even when they were still using her on NXT, they weren't using her in the Main Event. So I don't
exactly. That's
I
my
don't
argument
if that's even if that's true now that she's not covered or that she's not cleared rather, and that's the reason that they're using now. I can't buy it because it wasn't true before.
Exactly.
And he's just
unless their plans with her on the main roster has always been for her to be physical.
I was going to say, like, I haven't seen her anywhere else because my knowledge on her is pretty limited, as it was on Karrion Kross before he came into NXT. Was she an individual competitor before NXT?
The only thing I ever remember from her was her doing lap dances at Impact. Like, honestly, not to sound chauvinistic, but that's really the only thing that I ever genuinely saw from her, unfortunately. I don't remember seeing any matches.
No, because if they are going to separate them with the purpose of, like, letting her be an entity unto herself, I can't shit on that. Like, you know, people might not have the nicest things to say about Zelina Vega, per se, sometimes. You know, asshole from New York has his opinions. But, like...
And the funny part is, you know, she even admitted that she only reason she went back was so she could spend more time with her husband. She didn't know, obviously, her husband was going to get canned.
Yeah, that's true. But
You know,
look,
she
like, think
literally
about it,
said
though.
that she went back because she thought her husband, was still going to be working there, so she didn't want to go into another company and not be with her husband. And then she signed the contract, and they also promised her a lot of things as well. They said that, you're going to get money in the bank and that kind of stuff. And then they beat her on her debut. They beat the shit out of her everywhere else, and she basically walked away with nothing. So.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, think about this as well, is because initially they saw her as a valet, right? When she wasn't managing Andrade, she was managing Angel Garza and Austin Theory and that whole group of people that, like, randomly changed every now and then. Now, don't get me wrong. As an advocate, as that valet role, she's great. The people that thought she was going to Impact and was going to continue that with Andrade, if she had chosen to do that, that would have been great. But if she has the opportunity to break away and show that she herself can also be a talent, use those same mic skills to get herself over, why would you not? Why would you not want to try that? I still go back to, and I mean, you guys all know what I think about Bianca Belair, but you go back to Worlds Collide a couple years ago. There is an amazing triple threat match between her, Bianca Belair, and Piper Niven, who's now Doudrop. Like, you wouldn't think this of any of the three women. Like, Bianca Belair has become the obnoxious cartoon character that she is. Doudrop is in the weird role that she's in now. Zelina Vega just came back and is starting to do stuff. They're wasting her with Sasha Banks, but I don't really want to talk about it. But like, why would you? It sucks that everybody else that she was managing had to leave before they would let her be a wrestler. Like, that's like,
I know.
WWE shady for that. I got nothing for Cross and Joe.
I have nothing interesting because I just genuinely feel like it's going to be,
and it should be awesome because Joe coming back to Cross is ruined, right? But like, not ruined. I don't want to be over dramatic, but Cross is going to be whatever he's going to be.
Less interesting than he was before.
Yeah. If they build him up again on the main roster, like, that always could, in quotes, could happen.
It could happen.
But in the canon of NXT. Strictly in the canon of NXT, Samoa Joe returning to get his hands back on the NXT Championship should be huge.
Oh, it should be the biggest story ever.
Like, as much as I'm a fan of Balor, this should be bigger than Balor's return.
It should be.
I don't know. I'll be happy to see Joe as champion.
I'm excited that Samoa Joe is going to be fighting again. Like, it's cool that he'll be champ, and I like the idea.
I love the way that he's.
I mean, what if he doesn't win? It could happen, but I just highly doubt it at this point.
They turned the NXT Championship into a mid-card title on Raw. Oh my God.
Vince has done worse. Don't be surprised.
I know. But, no, have you seen all the memes that are predicting how long it's going to be till Karrion Kross is the 24/7 champion? It's fucking terrible. But, like, I love Samoa Joe hasn't lost any of his aura. Even being a competitor on the main roster, even spending some time in commentary where he was basically a different person, even getting let go and coming back.
He still seems like a badass.
He's got that way of saying, like, non-menacing things and making them sound menacing. Like, every time he refers to Karrion Kross, like, when he's telling him to watch out, telling him to be careful, it's always, be careful, young champion. And I'm just like, it's not quite condescending, it's not quite a threat, but it's just like, I'm here, you're here. I'm going to take that belt from you on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so, like, it's the more calm, subdued, psychotic version of, hey, Wendy!
One of my favorite moments.
I don't want to be this bummed about a takeover. Like,
I'm
Jake,
trying not to be, but it's just I don't have the energy I usually do, or the excitement, sadly.
Yeah, I've pretty much said, like, I'm the last person that's going to shit on NXT, but, like, they got to do something. And so much of it is not NXT, it's what the outside forces are doing to NXT. I try to keep that in mind, but goddamn, guys, I'm reviewing Rampage. That's, like, there's nothing else for me to say.
No, that's it. That's the truth.
Anyways, you got to go, so quickly tell people where to find you.
You can find me right here on the Spaz Phoenix Show, that's right. And then you can also find me on Twitter at CountdownEnded And after most WWE shows, every WWE pay-per-view and AEW pay-per-view, as well as AEW shows on the Joe Cronin Show.
All right, and you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. He's been Jake. We are your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.